When it comes time to determining pricing and opening your medical aesthetic practice, several variable options come into play. First, you have to determine what the fixed costs of your business are and the fixed costs of the items that you're purchasing and the variable costs, because when it comes time to price a model out, you have to know what's going to be most profitable. And what does the market bear? Just because one physician charges one price doesn't mean that you've got to match that. You may be in a buying group. You may get discounts. You may get rebates, which allow you to do two things: increase your profitability or decrease your retail price. Once again, if you do more volume at a lower retail price, you can make more profitability. But if you do that and you don't increase the volume, your profitability will not increase. Try to be very careful about the social media discounting, because it's a lot easier sometimes to discount a procedure than to drop your price. Because once you drop your price, it's going to be very difficult to raise your price again. Whereas if you order short-term or you offer short-term discounting, you can always bring that cost and that discounting back up. But the better off that your wholesale pricing is on the initial purchase, the better off that you're going to be able to be when it comes time to offering your retail price to your existing patient. When it comes time to hiring staff for your aesthetic practice, this is probably going to be one of the more painstaking, agonizing things that you're going to go through, not just in the medical practice, but in any business, because you want to maintain and retain your staff as much as you can. And I've always had a long-term relationship with my employees, because there's a step in a process that you go through when it comes time to hiring employees. And the first thing that you need to do is have good recruitment. And the recruiting process is multifaceted. You have to know how to recruit, and whether or not it's word of mouth, or whether or not it's a referral, whether or not you're doing in the newspaper, which I don't recommend anymore, or Craigslist, or Jobbing, or Monster. But you have a recruitment and an interview process. And this by far is probably one of the easier things to do. After, when you interview, you're able to know a little bit more about that prospective employee. And then you go through the hiring process, where you offer them, there's terms and conditions, and there's the pay, and then there's benefits. After you've hired them, you have to train them. And the training must be clear, concise, and consistent, and it really has to start from the very, very beginning, because you want that employee to be engaged. And then it's a continual training. You have incentivization, and lastly, it's employee retention. And you want to make sure that you have your staff for long periods of time, because your staff doesn't like to see a lot of turnover either. Some of the factors that you need to include when promoting marketing and advertising is it's an absolute must. Years ago, medical practices didn't believe in marketing and advertising, and that was the old school. But in aesthetic and cosmetic medicine, it is very important, because all their competitors are doing it. The first thing you really need to do is have a great website. And you have to do two things in your website management. You have to have organic or search engine optimization, where you have keywords that promote your business. And then you have to have potentially pay-per-click, where when somebody goes into the Google or any of the browsers, they're able to see what you do and let you come up first if you don't have an organic website that comes up and populate it first. The second part of it could be invertising. People really aren't aware of what invertising is, but that is internal advertising. So that's a new term, invertising, that markets to your current patient base, because they may not even think of all the things that you do, and you may believe that they know what you do, but they really don't. You have to explain each and every day all of the procedures that you do. And then there are billboards, and there are flyers, and then there are mailers, there's TV, there's radio. Your number one key of advertising and marketing is word of mouth and your existing referral base. And that's happy patients. So that by far is one of the key elements. Get feedback, have testimonials from your existing patients that go on social media. And if not, Make sure you have reputation management, because there's always going to be a disgruntled patient out there that's going to post negative things about you. And be pretty cognizant of social media in likes and promoting things on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and all of those things. This is a new era. This is a new dawn. This is a new age. When opening your aesthetic practice and your medical practice with banking, if you are not 100% sole funded, which not many practices are, you're still going to need banking. And it really is a smart thing to do to even have leasing and finance companies, because the old adage, other people's money, still holds true today. You're not getting much money in banking interest at a half of 1% to 1%, and right now banking and interest rates are low. Know your leasing terms, whether or not you're going to lease it at a 10% buyout or a dollar buyout. In certain states, you don't have to pay document stamps. In certain states, you do, depending upon the level of the buyout. Make sure that you have an existing line of credit and you can pledge those against your receivables. It's also great for asset protection. In the event that there's a lawsuit, that some of your receivables and some of these things are pledged against your line of credit. Banking, have remote capture banking, similar to that of when you go into a bank and you swipe the check and it gets into your banking account without you ever having to get into the bank. You can swipe your checks. Make sure that you negotiate good credit card rates on two sides. The merchant side when you accept it, and when it comes time for you to have that good vendor relationships, that you have been able to negotiate that side of it, whether it's third-party financing, for instance, Care Credit. There are certain promotions, there are specials. There's always somebody out there that is willing to beat each and every rate of your credit cards, because what you may not know is that different credit cards have different rates. And by calling it in and verifying it is a higher rate. International cards are higher rate. Corporate cards are higher rate. Debit cards are your lowest rate. What we do is we negotiate these things for our clients and try to make sure, and when you're doing banking, you want to make sure that you negotiate the service charges that your bank is going to charge you. After all, you may be putting millions of dollars through that bank and they're wanting your money. You're not getting much interest, so see what you can do on the fees.